Hello, so today we're going to be talking about Rule of Two, the sequel to Path of Destruction, the second book in the Darth Bane trilogy. Goodness, this was not what I thought it was going to be. The first book was all Darth Bane joining the Academy. Well, it's his origins, joining the Academy, rising up, finding the Rule of Two, the reason why he rejected the new way of the Sith Order, and then learning about the Rule of Two and instituting it and wiping out the Sith so that he can make the Rule of Two the only way, so that he can take away the Brotherhood because it was a weaker way of being. And he takes on an apprentice, or it's like implied that he's going to be taking on an apprentice at the end of book one, and I thought we were going to be doing the slow training of him with his apprentice, but once again, pacing of this book, of the series, is quite rapid. So there are time jumps, there's like large chunks of the training that we don't actually see, and instead, Zannah and Bane are actually separated for large portions of this book, sort of doing separate tasks, which means that Zannah's training is also incomplete. Even though she has so much time with him, there's still so much for her to learn, which is a big hinge point of this book. Once again, I just finished this book, and I mean like less than an hour ago I finished this book, and now I'm sitting down to review it. So I don't have notes, I just have thoughts. So I'm gonna scroll through some of the quotes and thoughts that I put on my Discord as I was reading through the book to just kind of refresh myself and make sure that I don't miss anything important. But this is very much, let's talk about this book. First of all, the thought bomb that wiped out the Sith, we get a look at what it's like to have been destroyed by this thought bomb. Yes, their bodies are gone, but their consciousness is still very much alive. It's been absorbed into this thought bomb, and it's just this constant, never-ending, raging torment that they're suffering. So Darth Bane does give Zannah some physical training and mental training. He forces her to relive the death of people that she cares about. A big reason why she's pursuing the way of the Sith is because of all the people that she's lost, because of the family that she couldn't protect, and now she wants the kind of power that would make her never have to be helpless like that again. And Darth Bane, in order to force her to use her pain to channel that into her use of the Force, into the dark side, he has her relive certain deaths that she's experienced. He abandons her and tells her, I'm going here, you have this many days to come and find me there, figure it out. If you don't, then you were never meant to be my apprentice anyway, you deserve to die. But it's this weird dynamic of pain and suffering and utilizing the trauma that she's experienced, but also giving her some amount of tenderness and kinship. It's weird because she distinctly says, he is not a father figure to me. I hate him. And yet there is this father-daughter sort of tenderness between them. It's such an interesting book to read because so often I can't tell what their dynamic is, because he's teaching her, you will have to kill me one day. That's the way of the Rule of Two. You will eventually, I'm training you now, you're my apprentice, you will eventually surpass me, and when you do, you will necessarily kill me. You must, and then take on an apprentice of your own and continue the way of the Sith. And so all throughout this book, he's teaching her, you must be my killer, and she's accepting this wholeheartedly and continuing to repeat that mantra and to promise him. It's not a threat, it's a promise, and one that he revels in, that he appreciates. I will eventually be your killer. And that's correct in his eyes, which is fascinating. The digging into the philosophy of the Rule of Two and the philosophy of the Sith continues to be one of the most interesting parts of these books, because it's not only the walking contradiction that the Sith are, where you are pursuing this self-promotion and self-ideals, where what everyone else in the world believes or accepts or thinks is irrelevant, only your way is correct, and everything is about your own domination and power and force of will. But at the same time, you're investing in the way of the Sith to the extreme of, I will eventually give my life for this so that the Sith, the way of the Sith, may continue. Truly, Darth Plagueis, I think, is the least contradictory Sith character that I've read, because he's the one that says, no, I'll not stop being the master. I will find a way to usurp the way of the Force, to gain immortality, and I will forever be the master, and you will forever be my apprentice. He's the one Sith selfish enough to say, rule of two? No. It'll always be me on top. But Bane, the one who reinstitutes the rule of two, does so of selfish intent and desire, yet understanding that the way of the Sith, the order of the Sith, is more important than him. And so he will joyfully one day be killed by his apprentice so that the Sith order can continue on. He also spends some time teaching her his philosophies in the way of the Sith and in the Sith order. Quotes like, equality is a perversion of the natural order. It binds the strong to the weak. They become anchors that drag the exceptional down to mediocrity. Individuals designated and deserving of greatness have it denied them. They suffer for the sake of keeping them even with their inferiors. Equality is a chain, like obedience, like fear or uncertainty or self-doubt. The dark side will break those chains. This is him explaining why the way of the Sith, as it once was, as a part of the Brotherhood that believed in equality, why that was so wrong. There's this whole sequence that absolutely breaks my heart after Xana is left to figure out how to get back to Darth Bane on her own, and this family picks her up. The dad's name is Borden. Dad's name is Borden. And he is a beautiful soul. So this family picks her up, they take her on their spacecraft, on their ship, and they're willing to take her, so far. They're willing to take her to a distance, not to where she's trying to go. But they meet her needs, they care for her, they show her kindness, and realize that she really needs a lot more than just a lift. So they offer her a life. They offer her a future. They offer her a path that's not where she's walking now, though they don't know that she's a Sith. They have no idea what path she's walking now. Most everyone pretty much believes that the Sith have been wiped out at this point completely. But they're so kind to her, and they want to take her back. Come back to our home. Come work with us on the farm. Come live life with us. You can be one of us. And it's incredible. It's such great character writing because they have such a short amount of time on screen, on page, and yet I loved them so dearly. And I think largely because I love Xana, because she's so young and broken and traumatized, and that is being twisted and manipulated into sending her down this path where she's slowly chiseling away her own humanity. And this family is offering her a different way. They're offering her a healing path where she can come to find a new way of life. And yes, life is hard, and yes, there will be hardships. We've lost people we love too, and that's not going to stop happening. There's war going on, losses happen, and that's terrible, but there's also joy to be found in the small things in life, and there's still love to be had in the people that we share that life with. And they offer her an opportunity of stepping off the path she's on and going down a much more healing route. And of course she doesn't take it. The whole time I read this book, the whole time, I'm just constantly screaming at Xana, please take someone's offer, take someone's kindness, change. The path Darth Bane is leading you down is clearly not one that's helping you or healing you. There has to be another way. But because she's suffered, because she's experienced pain, and because she's been out of control of herself, and out of control to help the people that she loved, she just can't accept the life that's being offered to her. She can't accept a life of simplicity that will inevitably still have pain and that she can't do anything about. She wants control, she wants power, she wants to not have to experience those things anymore. So, or that like out of control helplessness ever again. So there's this whole sequence that just ruined my life, where she gets into a scuffle with them, she starts going behind their back, and then it escalates, and then she kills them all. She kills them one by one. And it's horrible. And then she has to leave their bodies in the ship as she's still trying to pilot the ship to wherever she can land it. And their bodies are rotting and decomposing, and she's eating part of the food rations, but she's a kid and they're adults, so the rations are too large, so she eats a part of it and then she just throws the rest back behind her and lets that rotting food she tries to let that rotting food drown out the smell of the rotting corpses of the family that she murdered. The whole time she's going through all this, she's just reminding herself of the things that Bane has taught her. Bane will teach her to unshackle herself from this world and to have freedom in power. But that's not true. It's not true. She just becomes more and more of a prisoner because she's constantly denying herself of any sort of joy or fulfillment or freedom that she could find in this world, because and instead she's embracing more pain and suffering. Bane is forcing her to eat. She becomes attached to a creature and she's forced to eat it as like another test and as another way of detaching herself and using the Force more, and it's all lies. Everything that Bane is promising her, yes, it will get her more power and more control, but the thing that she's seeking, this sense of not being out of control again and not experiencing the kind of loss and pain that she experienced when Bane first found her. Instead, Bane is just continuing to inflict more pain on her, and she's just convinced herself that this will help her in the end. But it only harms her and it only leads her down a terrible path, and it breaks my heart because she's a child. She's a child that was found at her worst and that is being groomed to be this villainous, and she accepts it. She makes her own choices. It's not like she's out of control of herself, but it breaks my heart because I watch her commit acts like this, where she's killing this family that just wants to love her, that's only offered her kindness, and she murders them all and leaves them. Well, there's nothing, I mean, she leaves their corpses behind and continues to pursue Darth Bane. And to watch her walk down this path when other opportunities are presented to her breaks my heart. I did not expect to read the Darth Bane trilogy and to become this attached to his apprentice and to be so fixated on her and her journey. Meanwhile, Bane's journey in this book is not, I won't say it's more of an aside, but it has far less emotional oomph to it than Xana's does, at least from my perspective. That's true. Oh, right, there's this line right after she killed the entire family that she said, "Fear and pain were an inevitable part of existence, and it was far better to inflict them on others than to suffer them herself." She has gone down this path of self-preservation to the point of destruction. There's this awesome scene where Darth Bane mentally breaks a Drexel, I think I'm saying that right, and then swoops down after Xana crash lands her ship that she's stolen, and now is being ambushed by a bunch of people, and she's going to be overpowered, and Darth Bane swoops down and just picks up the head guy in the talons of the Drexel and just like he handles the situation. He takes care of the situation and saves Xana. It's interesting. Okay, we'll talk more about Bane's arc in a second. Their relationship throughout this book is also very fascinating. I already mentioned that Xana despises him. She hates him. She is going to kill him. I don't know that she actually hates him, but she says she does, and she says she doesn't view him as a father. She says that she, that she wants to overpower him one day, but also there's always this hesitation about overpowering him, and there's this need, not just desire, need for his approval in everything that she does, constantly searching her mind for, how does he want me to respond to this? What does he want me to say or do in this situation? Wanting to please him, trying to preserve his life, and there's a practicality to preserving his life. She wants to preserve his life because she hasn't been trained enough, and because he's set all these things into play. He's done so much maneuvering so that if he does die, then she can't continue on what he's doing on her own just yet. So she'll essentially have to just start all over, and she's not prepared to start all over without a master. She needs her master still. So there's a utilitarian aspect to her wanting to preserve his life, but there's also, I just think she doesn't want to kill him yet. I think that after everything that she's lost, and after how much she's hinged her whole future on him, she also desires his approval like a child might towards a father. But part of that approval is the promise of one day I'll kill you. And that is something that he's proud of her for embracing fully. Just the same for him. He wants her to be his apprentice. Every time she excels at something, every time she figures something out, every time she shows that she is particularly clever, he's impressed with her. And he wants her to figure these things out, and he's happy that he's chosen her as an apprentice. But at the same time, if she ever proves herself to be unworthy to him or too weak for him, then he will discard her in a moment, and considers discarding her, and even attempts to discard her a couple of times through this book. There's one point where her cousin appears and attacks Bane, and Bane is going to kill him. But she ends up saving him by destroying his hand and telling Bane killing him now would be useless waste, which is something that Bane believes in. You don't just kill for no reason. That's useless waste. And she turns Bane's ideals and principles that he's taught her, turns them into a way to preserve a life that she still cares about, which to him is weakness, because she shouldn't care about this life. It doesn't matter that he's her cousin. It doesn't matter that they grew up together. It doesn't matter that he's her best friend. She should be willing to discard him quickly. And he considers getting rid of her because of the weakness that she's shown, but ends up keeping her because there was also a lot of manipulation and intelligence in the way that she did it. So he'll give her time, but she's always walking a wire. She's always a hair's breadth away from him discarding her, because while he wants her to be his apprentice, not as much as he wants the right apprentice, and no amount of attachment that he has to her is enough to make him act outside of the ideals that he holds up. And through all this too, there is a Jedi plotline that I personally don't think is very strong in this book. I don't think it's terribly interesting. I don't think the characters are nearly as good. I think the Jedi look a little bit incompetent in this book. They believe that the Sith Order has been utterly destroyed. Johan, the primary Jedi apprentice that we follow, does think that probably there are still surviving Sith. And when he brings it to his Jedi Master, Fartalla, when he brings it to his Jedi Master, Fartalla, he's just like, nah, I don't think so. And they just don't pursue it enough. And just the same, Xana is constantly doing political maneuvering for the sake of Darth Bane. Xana, all throughout this book, is finding information for Darth Bane for the sake of his plotline, finding how to access holocrons, how to make his own holocron. When he gets infected with this parasite, she tries to find a way to release him from it, to heal him. She's doing so much work, and most of what she does goes off without a hitch, and some of that is because the Jedi just like don't really ask questions or notice that she's an agent of the Sith right in their midst. And the whole time, for that particular part of the plotline, the whole time I'm thinking to myself, there's no way this book wants me to believe that these Jedi are all fooled. Like, at some point the other shoe's gonna drop and they're gonna reveal that they've known the whole time, because obviously they could tell, especially the Jedi Masters, like, sensed something was off, but no. And I wish the Jedi were painted a little bit more. Like, it's okay that they believe that the Sith are dead and they don't pursue it outright initially, but when Johan is like really pushing for this and bringing some things up, it would be nice if a couple of them would entertain that and would kind of become suspicious earlier of what's going on, especially since the final battle can only have so much stake in it, because I know that both Zena and Bane have to make it into the third book because they can't die in this Jedi battle. They have to face off against each other. That's been the promise from the very beginning of the trilogy, and that it must happen. It must happen to continue the rule of two, and it can't happen now because Zena still has a lot more training to be done. So because the final battle with the Jedi can only do so much for us, even though it was a great fight, it can only do so much for us, and so I really would have preferred for the Jedi to do a little bit more with their plotline. That said, I do think that the Jedi do provide good balance to the book because we're so focused on Bane's ideals and Zena's quick descent into Sith ideology, and her pursuing that and constantly turning down opportunities to turn away from the Sith way. So it's a very, we're focused on darkness prevailing in this particular thread in these characters. So then looking at the Jedi and seeing them actually grieving over deaths and feeling the weight of the war and desiring for the betterment of the people is a really good balance to the book. I just wish it was more interesting, this plotline. Now, as I mentioned, Bane's plotline, he's more off trying to figure out his own, trying to pursue his own goals. He wants to make his own holocron. He wants to learn more of what to do. He ends up getting infected with these parasites, which provide him with a great armor. They make him more strong, more powerful with the Force, but they also are causing him constant pain. They're feeding off of him, and if one of them is damaged or killed, then it will destroy him as well. So there's a huge risk with them. There's a huge pain point with them, and they seem to be driving Bane a little bit mad. And so he becomes a lot more hair trigger, is that the term? He becomes a lot more quick to wrath. So when he thinks Zena has turned on him, has betrayed him, like I said, he'll take her out in a second if he thinks that she's failed him. And multiple times in this book, he thinks she might have failed him, and he turns on her and he's ready to kill her, and he almost does. And she barely makes it out alive, and he's really losing control of his stability, his mental stability, because of these parasites. And so he has more of a, I don't know, his plot line is less, I guess there's less movement to it, but that's not really true. He goes to several different locations. He listens to different holocrons. He tries to figure out, what he's trying to accomplish for himself. So there is a lot of movement with his story, but I guess it's just more, it feels more like a side thing for the plot, and Zena kind of feels more like the main character of this story, and Bane just pops in here and there to continue to be her anchor point, though she feels like the anchor point of this book. Zena also has this ability to destroy the mind of anyone she wants. She can unleash their darkest fears. She can pinpoint what their darkest fears are and then bring it to the surface of their mind and escalate it and just torment them with it until they mentally break. And we watch it happen on page. We watch someone break because of what Zena does on page, and it's horrifying. So while Zena is a lot less powerful than Bane is physically and combat-wise, she has this ability that makes her pretty terrifying. So there's this hermit, I don't know why I quoted that, he is a hermit, that shows up at the end of the book that directly challenges the Jedi in the participation that they've had in the war as well. He's neutral. He believes that the Jedi and the Sith, they've all failed everyone. They're all participating in this war. One of his quotes is, "Jedi, Sith, you're all the same. You were so blinded by your hatred of each other that you couldn't see the consequences of what you were doing. And in the end, your general," speaking to the Jedi, speaking to Johan, the Jedi apprentice, "your general marched down into the underground caverns to face Khan's followers, knowing he would unleash the devastation of the thought bomb on this world." So like, he challenges them, but ultimately Johan ends up using the Force to sort of like convince him, sort of, to make him listen to reason and be willing to give up the information that he has about Darth Bane, give up the information about the Sith in general, and work with them, because if that would cause the war to end, then okay, yes, I will. So this hermit agrees to go with the Jedi. He gives up Darth Bane's location, which he wasn't going to do because he didn't want to participate in the war at all. He didn't want anything, but he does know about Darth Bane. It's the cousin. It's the cousin who Xena loved and destroyed the hand of in order to protect him. He's back, and I'm so glad he is. He was a fantastic part of this book, and I was so glad that he wasn't just there for that purpose of showing what Xena, like showing that Xena still clung to some of her humanity, but like partially still fracturing it as she went along. No, he came back, he was incredibly important, challenged the Jedi, but also was willing to give up the Sith if it meant ending the war, until he realized that meant he was giving up Xena as well, which he didn't realize at first. His name is Darovit. That's what he goes by now in his older years. Xena was called Rain when they were younger. Darovit was called, I've forgotten actually what it doesn't matter. His name is Darovit, that's Xena's cousin, and he is completely convinced that this is what he's going to do. He's going to give up Bane, and he already has. He's already led them, but then once he realizes that what he's done is he's led them to his cousin, to his best friend, to this person that he knows there's still goodness in. When he sees her, he completely changes sides. It says, as Darovit waited for her to return, it occurred to him that his loyalties had suddenly shifted. He had been lured to Coruscant with the notion of helping the Jedi wipe out the Sith and prevent a war, but the abstract concept of widespread galactic suffering meant little when he had come face to face with his childhood friend. Now, all he could think about was what would happen to Rain if she was caught, and he realized he was willing to do whatever it took to keep her safe. So Darovit is one of the best characters in the book, and again, didn't even get that much page time. But once again, much like the family that Xena killed, Darovit is another off-ramp on this path that she's on. He's another opportunity for her to step away, to leave. He reminds her of who she was in their childhood. She's always been force sensitive. She's always been force strong, but she's always used her force in a way that put the attention on him, that assisted him. And so he seemed to be gifted in the force, and she seemed to be deficit in the force. But then once they separated, he no longer could do all that he used to be able to do, and he realized that it was always her assisting him. He has so much history with her. He has so much connection to her. He knows who she is through and through. He knows who she's capable of being, and he knows that she's so much more than what she's chosen here. And so he will do anything to protect her, anything to give her a life different than the one that she's been walking for the last over a decade. Because like I said at the beginning of the video, there's quite a few time jumps. Like there's a lot of time that we miss. So she's been an apprentice for well over a decade at this point. She's not a child anymore. She's now grown, and he wants her to go back to who she once was, and he'll do anything if it means getting her there. So what Xena has done, because I have skipped over a lot of plot beats, but that's okay. I assume you've read the book. So Bane is now, the parasites are killing him. He's gonna die. He's gonna die very soon. So she's finding Caleb, the healer that Bane had threatened into saving his life in book 1. She's now found him again, and she's going to force him to heal Bane again. But this time, Caleb, another MVP of this book, he's like, no! Can't happen again. You can't make me. Remember the daughter you once threatened? She's gone. She's changed her name. She's changed her location. You don't know what planet she's on. You don't know what she looks like. You have no way to find her. Threaten her life again. Go ahead, do it twice. You won't find her. You can't use her to manipulate me. And Xena's like, great, I'll torture you. He's like, have fun. Been tortured before. I'll do it again. And she's like, great, I'll kill you. And he's like, and your master will still die. I'm not helping you. you, he's amazing. But Darovit convinces him that if she gives up Bane, he'll be taken away and you'll give up the way of the Sith and you'll come away with me. That's what Darovit is telling her. He makes up this great plan. He makes a deal with Caleb. Caleb agrees to save Bane's life. He's literally Bane's only hope. She's going to lose Bane, and if she loses Bane, she loses everything. So her only options are let Bane die and the Sith die because you're not ready to be a master yet. Let Bane be captured and you've now betrayed the person that you've devoted your entire life and ideals to, and give all that up and go live a new life, which she won't do, tragically. Or, you know, find your own path, figure this out yourself. But he once again gives her the opportunity, gives her the chance to walk away, to not be a Sith anymore, to not keep going down this path. It's being handed to her multiple times in this book, the chance to leave this. And I think that's one of the reasons why this book is so effective, is because I'm very attached to Xana. Mostly because she was a child at the beginning of it, and I just want to protect children. And I want her to find a way off this path. I want her to find redemption. I want her to walk away from this. I want her to be saved. And there are many options. There are people trying to save her, and she won't take it. And that breaks my heart because the options are right there. It's made so simple for her, and she won't do it. She continues to choose this destructive, painful way of the Sith instead. So she breaks the mind of Caleb, and he's killed in battle, and she saves Bane, and she's gonna help bring him back to health and continue her training until she's strong enough to kill him and continue the way of the Sith. It's a tragedy. This whole trilogy is a tragedy. It's a character-focused tragedy. This is what Darovit said to her, you know, shortly before she broke his mind and left him to die. I've told you, Xana, we share a bond. I can tell what you're thinking, what you're feeling. You're afraid of being alone, but you are not alone. Not anymore. You'll make the right choice, and when you do, I'll be there for you. She doesn't take it. She continues to follow Bane. And the book ends with her promising him that she will kill him. That she will be strong enough one day to kill him and become the new master. If you can't tell by the way that I've formatted this discussion, it's a character series for me, big time. And it is effective because it's giving us the lore, it's giving us the added information, it's showing us the origins of the Rule of Two being reinstituted, it's showing us stuff like the beginning of the separatist movement, the origins of that. It's giving us all the political maneuvering, it's giving us more information on the way of the Sith, and on top of all of that, it's giving us characters within it who are caught up in this self-destructive system that is destined to collapse in on itself, is destined to destroy itself and everyone in it. I'm going to read a happy book next, but I'm also going to be reading book 3 very soon, so there won't be a long break before we talk about book 3. Please chat with me more about it in the comments. I know that there are sections that I didn't talk about, so if you want to talk more about your favorite parts of the book, please chat with me more in the comments. I would love to hear it. I'll see you again soon. Bye.